Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming on a chilly morning. Let's begin our study this morning with prayer. Heavenly Father, sometimes you use difficult things to get our attention. Sometimes you allow pain and suffering and heartache and difficulty to wake us up. Show us how we're going the wrong way. Help us today with this difficult story, very unfamiliar to many of us, I'm guessing. This story about David's lesson for our benefit. So we would learn from his foolishness, his example, and also take to heart the wise and kind actions of his concubine, that she would be the example for your glory today. In your son's name we pray. Amen. I'd like you to take a look at, it's interesting, certain blogs, I don't know if you follow different blogs or podcasts online, but certain ones have very interesting authorship in what they tell you to focus on. There's one I like, his name is the Hollywood Film Critic, and he had an interesting blog, this was years ago that I read it. Back in 2011, this is his blog about C.S. Lewis, and this is his quote on the top, and we'll read the quote, also his blog post, and I'd like to comment on it. C.S. Lewis says, God whispers to us in our pleasures, he speaks in our conscience, but he shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. I've been intentionally avoiding this quote from Lewis. I realize it is for a couple of different reasons. First, this may be the most famous quote from Lewis, and for good reason. It succinctly summarizes a complex theological issue, Christian suffering. Second, there has been much written about this quote. Nevertheless, here are my thoughts. First, how true this has been in my own life. The last few years have been brutal. I should have written brutal with a capital B. Divorce, losing my job twice, starting a business, being cheated out of $500,000, having to close my business. I could keep going, but I won't. At the same time, looking back, I understand that this is what it took for God to get my attention. And now I am in a better place than I have ever been in a long time. Maybe ever. Second, looking back, I also understand that prior to my suffering, God was trying to get my attention. There were signs and warnings. They were not the flashing red lights of a divorce or the megaphone of being robbed of your money, but the warnings were there. Mostly those warnings came in the form of my conscience. Those whisperings also came from things my true friends would say. What a pretty hard life this man. Divorce, closing business, cheated out of $500,000, starting a business, losing a business. How does this author view the purpose of pain and suffering? Bill, sir.
Wake her up.
Wake her up, yeah? Why?
Well, life goes good and everything's fine and you don't have a problem in the world. First thing you know, you don't think about God whatsoever. It's like he exists and you've done it all. And all of a sudden you got all this going on and you wonder where am I going to turn, how am I going to handle it, and what's going to happen. And the first thing you know, you turn to God to ask for help and you get it. You come out of it.
Well said. Someone keep going. Bill got us a great start. We need that pain and suffering to listen to the Lord. Someone else. John.
Well, the last sentence on that second paragraph is the one for God to get my attention. Now, he's thanking God, but he's not thanking God.
Yeah.
So it's, we don't know exactly how he's, if he's walking out to a lot of unchurched, unfamiliar places,
Sure.
and turn them all off. So,
Yep.
it's hard to say in that respect because he's really thanking God or not. He does put it in there
Yeah.
lightly, but it's not full-fledged.
Right.
Shouts about pain. He thinks, this is what God. So he understands, and he's also saying to his friends that talk to him, whispers, "You sure you want to do this?"
Yeah. You find out they're true friends when they won't tell you, sure this is a good idea? instead of just being a yes man or a yes woman. All right, so the purpose of suffering, we listen when things are going poorly. We have to listen. It's a way, maybe not fully committed. Something else, the purpose of pain and suffering. I thought John was getting at it, the final sentence in the second paragraph. What's the purpose of pain and suffering? Humility, right? It humbles us and changes behavior. How many of us willingly change our own bad behaviors? Heather, you do?
God loves and humble me.
God loves and humble you. I think all of us, we would all say, God has to humble us to get our attention, to change behavior. Otherwise, as Bill well said, if everything's going well, I don't really need him. I tend to forget him. And I have said this before, and I know it sounds counterintuitive, but I've said before as a pastor, the worst thing I can think to happen for you is that you have good health, you have a very comfortable job, you have a very good life, you have lots of vacation, lots of retirement. And I see a couple heads nodding, because then I'll say, what I have found as a son of a pastor, and as a pastor myself, is that when you start to get everything you dream, you stop coming here. Because you don't need this anymore. There's a lot of truth to God using humility to get our ears to listen. Ted?
Life's good. I don't need you here.
I don't need this message of forgiveness. There's nothing wrong with me. I don't need comfort. I'm fine.
I have known people that when all of a sudden things start going negative in their lives, they have literally, I think of one that's been 40 years ago.
Sure.
The individual said, gosh, I guess I should start going back to church for a while until things get better. That's exactly what the individual said. I thought, that doesn't sound right. I told him, I said, no, it's not for a while because everything happens from God. It's kind of a wake up.
It's kind of a wake up. A whole life change, not a temporary, until they get better.
There's some people that actually believe that, though. I have found out.
Yeah. Saw another hand. Heather?
I really think God's trying to get my husband's attention.
Sure. Right?
I just won't.
God's pretty big. He's got ways of getting all of our attention. Yeah. Kim?
I think too, pain and suffering, it's kind of been a loss for me. Like if I'm losing something, I'm feeling something taken away. So a lot of times I see how much confidence I have put in other things. So again, I think God just, if the blessing is, He says, no, I'm not going to let you. I'm bringing you back.
Right. I'm not going to let you build your house on shifting sand. I'm going to let that shift so you build it again on solid rock. And I might have to shake the sand quite a bit. We just keep trying to get that reset. Yeah, no, that's well said. I see another hand somewhere. Ken, sir.
To me, the pain and the suffering is the lessons that we learn when we ramble off into our own self-will.
Yeah. We like to follow our own plans first. Question number 2. Well said, Ken. Question number 2. Is this author thankful? After everything that's happened to him, all of his loss, all of his pain, is he thankful now? Okay, I didn't really give you the answer. If I kept the blog going, you'd find out. It's kind of a guess. Take a guess. Matthew, I saw your hand first.
Yeah, it sounds like he's thankful in the third paragraph. Yeah, third paragraph.
Yes, in the third paragraph. Good. Heather?
There's a song on Christian radio, I am thankful for the scars, that which I would know my heart. And God gives, He hurts to get, like you said, to get attention. To
Yeah.
bring you closer to Him.
Yeah, we would say God allows hurt sometimes to get my attention. God doesn't purposely hurt, but He may allow hurt. He may let it happen. But it does have a way of getting my attention. Yeah. If you were to, and you can find out the quotation below, you keep reading the Hollywood Film Critic, you can really see over years some change. What Bill said. But I got everything I need. I don't need God. But then when he has suffering and pain, now when he comes out of it, he is more dedicated to the Lord. He is more thankful for the little things. He is much more of a simple, blessed, humble person. Doesn't mean he doesn't have suffering still. Doesn't mean he doesn't have consequences from losing all of that money and having a divorce. He's not perfectly happy. But he's much more thankful now, even though he has far less than being in his head when he had far more. B, please.
You don't necessarily need to be happy to be content.
Yeah. You knew where I was going. Well said. Yeah, there's a difference in his contentment. Paul said, "I've learned to be content in any and every circumstance, whether well-fed or hungry." He learns that Pauline lesson that all of us learn only through hard knocks. Contentment is often different than happiness, and we're going to get to that. But well said. Question 3: is pain and suffering necessary for you? Pastor, why are you asking such a question?
No one wants to think that.
Why? Why would you say that, Matthew?
Because no one wants to go through pain and suffering.
Agreed.
But things happen.
It's more than things happen. I agree. It's more, well, things happen. I guess I gotta suffer. You know. Go further, John.
After your pain and suffering is the lesson that you've learned, why you went through all this, that you have someone who's got the power to help put you in a contentful mood.
Yeah, I've got a resource. I've got a route. Kids.
I would say, I don't know if necessary is the word, but pain and suffering is a result of sin, and that in the end, that is the goal of it, to see the sin. So is it necessary? Absolutely, because we're all blinded by our own sin. So.
Elizabeth, well said.
To follow up with that, I usually like to think of myself as somebody who would rather take the carrot than the stick. But
Don't we all?
but you know, I think we do all need suffering because we fall into sin without even realizing it.
Yes.
And most of the time, when I look back at times of suffering, I see where I didn't even realize that I was going down the wrong path. You know, and it took whatever the experience was to teach me those lessons.
Right.
So,
Yeah, no,
so I would say that we do need suffering.
her comment, blind to our own sin. That's very true. My eyes are not open until they're filled with tears sometimes. Yeah, well said. Luke, please.
You said it earlier that God has a humble us. He's got to get us on our knees to repentance. He's got us to realize it's not on us, it's on Him. We got to go to Him.
Right. He has to do that. I will not do that willingly. He calls me to daily repentance. He says all those things, and all those are well and good, but sometimes I have to be humble to get out of that. Me, myself as well. Bill.
In my life, I think back about things that happened to me, and not that I didn't realize where God was, or that I didn't believe him or anything else, but car wrecks, close to things like that. All of a sudden, you get to thinking, you know, I appreciate every day a whole lot more after that. You know, every day I'm on the surf that whatever I can do and whatever He presents to me to do, I appreciate whatever it is. You know, just a whole different outlook on life, different way of looking at things.
Contentment and grateful. Learn. Unfortunately. What's that? Anyone else to this? All of this is so very true. And as we get into today's lesson of 2 Samuel 21, we're going to see this in example. Everything you said is in principle. Now we understand why God has to bring so much pain and suffering to allow it to come, so that ears and eyes would open and listen. 2 Samuel chapter 21. We're getting to the end of David's ministry. This is how it kind of wraps up before it transitions into Solomon. Here at the end of chapter 21. First verse of the chapter. During the reign of David, there was a famine for 3 successive years. So David sought the face of the Lord. Question 4. David is rich, powerful, comfortable, and successful. Why did it take 3 straight years of famine to get him to seek the Lord? Not a trick question. I know I used these before. Why does it take 3 successive years of famine for the whole nation, not just one man and his household. 3 years of famine. Why did it take 3 years? Okay?
Because he couldn't fix it himself.
He couldn't fix it himself. It's unsaid that David would try to fix it. I think that's a fair assumption. Luke?
He's rich, powerful, comfortable, and successful.
I got everything a person wants.
The people might be suffering, but he's got it pretty good.
No, that's the scary thing.
It's scary.
Here's the second king in Israel's history, the little shepherd boy, right? And all of a sudden, at the end of the life, well, they're suffering, but I'm fine. I don't care until it's been 3 years, until the outcry has risen, until people, well, God doesn't record the details, but if you just think of an entire prosperous nation, no rain for 3 years, there's an outcry, there's suffering. But until 3 years later, is this little shepherd boy thinking about his people? Now he's thinking about himself. Even David gets quite self-frightened. So, absolutely.
Well, after 3 years, it's going to affect the coffers. Yeah. You know, it's.
Right. It doesn't seem that we're on military campaigns anymore. It seems that we've just kind of taken care of our land again. It seems, there's not a lot of background, but it's going to affect the income. It's going to affect the revenue. It's going to affect my comfort. But again, 3 years. How blind he is. So we're going to see the sin in a bit. But how blind David is, it's 3 years of difficulty before eyes open. Kim and then John, please.
I would just say too, even in my own experience, sometimes it does take years, and I think part of it, we see, the Israelites were 40 years in it. I mean, time is something that God uses as, it's not. We don't all have Paul's experience where we're hit by lightning, the scales on our eyes, and we get dreams. We don't. It's not a one fell swoop thing. There's a time that sometimes it takes for God to work His place through our heart. And I think it's important that, we don't just say, oh, I think it's easy to sit here and go, well, he should have known and it shouldn't have taken that long, and we can point out all of his bad qualities, but I don't know if it's in the same, time, but, we see his laments, too. And that was one thing I noticed in readings this week, just seeing David's heart in those times, and the scripture came up twice for me, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, these are valleys for him in a lot of ways. So.
And Kim and B know exactly where I'm going, and in just a moment you can say, oh, 3 years, you should have known it by then. But also, sometimes it takes us years. It takes us times. We have our peaks and we have our valleys. David shows himself to be quite human here. Yes, he's too comfortable with where his life is. And yes, like us, sometimes God's timetable to get us to humble and listen takes a while. But David is growing, God is caring and providing. We'll see next week, when we see his last week in Will and Testament, we'll see the final culmination of that. There's a lot of comfort. But if we look in the mirror and say, 3 years later, I haven't kicked this sin either, well, good, join David. There is some lament, and there also is some comfort that God doesn't give up on David after 3 years. God doesn't give up on me either. So, it's a couple of ways to look at it. John, please.
Well, humanistically speaking, droughts can happen,
Right. Yeah, it happens.
So, 1 year, that's bad. 2 years,
3 years. Something's going on. Right. Yeah. And again, we don't have the background, but you can see, okay, this is the one-off. 2, 3, something's going on now. And then question 5 is just kind of a thought question for you. We sing David's Psalms quite often in Sunday worship. Those are the Psalms that we read and we find a lot of comfort in our difficult moments. Question 5, David writes some of the most comforting Psalms in the Bible. He relishes praising God in his house. How can David have a spiritual blind spot? How can we? We're human, right? God has to allow some suffering sometimes, some difficulty, to open my eyes to see my sin. Luke, one more thought.
I'm just curious, last week he personal minister wasn't a believer.
Yes.
I wonder if it goes back to that. I mean, he just got somebody that was going to agree with it. A yes man, basically. You know? I wonder if it don't go back to that.
We really get uncomfortable with some of his choices at the end. You see some of his cabinet decisions and other things, putting the administrator, forced labor, item. And then at the end, though, you see at the end of his life, his last couple of things, his deathbed confession, you hear all of these psalms. You see, when you read the psalms, you've got those little adaptations at the top that kind of give us a background. And some of them you see, this is after Absalom, this is after his timetable. You know, you see both sides of David. Man, this man of faith, this foolish idiot, and this man of faith, this foolish idiot, right? You really can see how God deals gently with David as he deals gently with you and I. But yeah, there is some concerning things on that, just on the cabinet installation. When he seemingly has surrounded himself with yes men at the end, and setting up his son Solomon into a similar situation, where Solomon's cabinet is going to be filled by yes men. We're going to see when we get into Solomon in December, we're going to see some of that problem. We don't have people all the way dedicated to the Lord. We have a little face value dedication, but more military, governmental. There's going to be some spiritual issues. So, yeah, you kind of see where that's going to go, unfortunately. John, please.
I was just saying, as humans, we can sometimes find comfort in suffering. For a long time. I mean, yeah, it sucks, but you know, it's consistent.
It is consistent, and I have a consistent deliverer. I have a consistent Savior. I have a consistent Redeemer. My suffering will go up and down over my life, but suffering is consistent. And just one thing before we get into the story. This suffering is due to sin. This whole story is built off of, this is one man's sin that causes a lot of suffering. You and I may suffer in our lives not directly due to a sin. We just may be suffering due to the consequences of other people's sins. This story, when we're talking about God's suffering, it's due to Saul's sin, that damage, and, surprise, surprise, David not dealing with it, which we've seen often with David. So when we talk about God allowing suffering, there's a sin here, and the impact on the kingdom, and also on a nation that God's going to address. All right, let's go to the second page. A lot of you turned here already. God has a 3-year drought. Why does he have this drought? The Lord said, "It is on account of Saul and his blood-stained house. It is because he put the Gibeonites to death." The king summoned the Gibeonites and spoke to them. Now the Gibeonites were not part of Israel, but were survivors of the Amorites. The Israelites had sworn to spare them, but Saul, in his zeal for Israel and Judah, had tried to annihilate them. David asked the Gibeonites, "What shall I do for you? How shall I make amends so that you will bless the Lord's inheritance?" Question 6. What had Saul done to his relatives, the Gibeonites? Does anybody know the story of the Gibeonites? Heather.
He massacred them, and there was a promise that we did in it, right? They wouldn't hurt them.
He had tried to. He wasn't successful, but he had tried to. He had tried to kill the Gibeonites. What was their promise? When Joshua was entering the promised land, they were winning lots of battles. They were winning battles. You know, Jericho, right? We know Ai. And the Gibeonites were kind of next in line. And the Gibeonites saw this massive rampaging force and said, uh-oh, we're going to be dead. So the Gibeonites in Joshua chapter 9, they pretend to be weak. They take a lot of old clothing, they take a lot of old food and old water, and they come and, oh, we're so sorry, Joshua. We've come from a long travel. We've heard of your stuff. Please make a treaty with us. Joshua makes his first blunder. Joshua doesn't research the Gibeonites. Joshua doesn't ask more questions. Joshua just takes pity, which is good for Joshua in one sense. He takes pity, he trusts them, they kind of look in their satchels and, all right, they seem fine. And then Joshua makes a promise, we're not going to hurt you. And then he goes to the whole eldership of Israel. And we don't really know know what this means, but it's like they have a church voters meeting, so to speak. They have a whole eldership of Israel, and then they ratify it. So then the Gibeonites cannot be touched. So they just made a human oath that went against God's revealed will. And then the Gibeonites say, oh good, now that you made a promise, we know you're going to keep your word. Ha, we were just kidding, actually. We're your neighbors and you're supposed to kill us. But now you can't. So that's Joshua. Joshua takes over the land. They have some time, right? And then Saul comes a couple years later. Saul's a relative of the Gibeonites. And the Gibeonites have kind of played on God's mercy. And then Saul makes it his own mind that he is going to go and kill them and destroy them because, well, we were supposed to, but they tricked us. I don't want to hold to the treaty. And because he attempted but did not succeed, that's where this story is. And as you're going to find in a moment, this has got a lot of juicy intersections as far as God's will, man's oath, honesty, holding the promises. It's a really interesting story. But this is what Saul had attempted to do. He attempted to break man's oath and kill lying Gibeonites who had gotten a promise under false pretenses, but it was still a promise ratified by the nation. Question 7. David is over 60 years old at this time. Saul's action was over 30 years ago. Why does God have this famine now? Why not earlier? I don't know. God's got a time and place. He's got an order. Maybe God said, no, this is the end of David's life. We're safe from the Philistines. We're safe from these other nations. The whole Absalom thing is done. Now we've got to clean up this mess before you die. I don't know why God waited. But the important thing is that God dealt with it. And we're going to see why we have such a God of mercy and of faithfulness. And that God does not sweep under the rug 30-year-old things like humans are more willing to do. And question number 8. People occasionally lambast the Old Testament God, and kind of say, oh, the Old Testament God, as one of wanton bloodshed, killing, and destruction. The Gibeonites received a treaty of peace with Joshua and Israelite leadership after deceitfully pretending to be people from faraway nations and lying about their homeland. How are the Gibeonites an example of God's mercy? Heather.
They were forgiven for their false witness.
What? Actually, they weren't. There is no forgiveness. They bore false witness. How are they still an example of mercy? Sorry, you're close to it, but I don't want to give them forgiveness when they didn't repent. Yeah?
God did not destroy them for bearing false witness.
Yeah.
They did not repent.
They're unrepentant liars, but God doesn't destroy them because... Yeah, one more.
Well, because Joshua had made the treaty. He honored Joshua's treaty as his representative.
So just to be clear, they lied, they weren't sorry for it, they made a bad deal, and God's representative made a treaty he wasn't supposed to that directly contradicted his mission and will. And yet God said, there was a promise, I'm going to keep your promise even though you haven't kept mine. This is amazing. Saul, for all of his stupidity, Saul had thought, well, it's okay to kill because God said. No, God said, you made a promise, it disregarded mine, but in the greater scheme of things, you made an oath with this nation. They are protected because you made a treaty according to my name. You swore according to my name, my glory. It was the wrong people. It was the wrong treaty. It was the wrong situation. But my name is so faithful that when you make a treaty according to my name, it will stand, even if the treaty shouldn't have been made. There is no other story like this in the entire Old and New Testament. There is no other story of mercy. And I have to flagpole this and stand up on a chair and dance, because this is an example. God does not just kill for killing's sake. The Gibeonites exist even today because God said, "You made a promise according to my name, they will exist." And God brought about a whole bunch of destruction to Israelite people because the promise was made according to my name. Do not take the Lord's name in vain. Do not swear by the Lord's name. Well, that doesn't really mean anything. Well, here it does. I swear, God do this, God do that. Just think about this. God takes his name so seriously, Gibeonites stay alive. And he's going to allow some really brutal destruction of Saul's kids and grandkids. God takes his name very seriously. Let us take that seriously well. I'm going to pause here. Again, unfamiliar story. Kind of an intersection of mercy you don't normally see from God. Usually if you're not, God punishes you, but in a way, because his name is invoked, they don't get punished. Lots of times. Pretty awesome. Yeah, Luke.
This kind of gets into like how God so loved the world.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
even the unrepentant, he loves them. And he just wants them to become with him.
I'm going to love and protect you even though you've done nothing to deserve either. A comforting story of mercy when you really understand it. 3 years famine. How many people suffered? How many people died? Because I love unrepentant Gibeonites. But I'll allow repentant Israelites to suffer. It's really quite a mindset of God's graciousness. Yeah, you go to college, you go to different places, you hear people, oh, God's just a guy that just wants to kill people. No, bring up the story. God let the good guys suffer, so to speak, so the bad guys stay alive. What other deity does that? Okay.
People that go to court, when they swear them in, swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Once they understand what
Wait, you asking for God's help, careful.
Yeah.
Big deal. Bill, one more thought.
Thinking about the court that he just brought up, that's a has-been thing, swear to the Bible. Anymore, they don't do that. Because if you're a Muslim, it's just a book. It doesn't mean anything to you.
I can't speak to courtrooms that I have been a part of. I have seen swearing on Bibles. I have seen them put on that. I have seen people introduce other things. But yeah, there is something, whether the book is present or not, if you really understand who you're calling as witness, that's a big deal. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look at this question again. So there's 3 years of famine. The Lord says it's because of the sin. And now King David is going to the unrepentant Gibeonites and saying, what can we do to pacify you? It's really interesting, like, what can we do to make you happy? Gibeonites, always smart, always deceitful. Verse 4, the Gibeonites answered him, we have no right to demand silver or gold from Saul or his family, nor do we have the right to put anyone in Israel to death. That's Mosaic law. We could read Deuteronomy and Leviticus, but you probably don't want to do that. And I got to keep going. They hold to Mosaic law. We don't have the right to get that from you. What do you want me to do for you, David asked. Now they go back to Mosaic law. They answered the king, as for the man who destroyed us and plotted against us, so that we would be decimated and have no place anywhere in Israel, let 7 of his male descendants be given to us, to be killed and exposed before the Lord at Gibeah of Saul, the Lord's chosen one. So the king said, I will give them to you. Gibeonites, deceitful, unrepentant, but they know the Mosaic law and they use it against the Israelites here. To consider the specifics of their request, they ask for 7. That'll be 2 children and 5 grandsons of Saul. We'll learn in just a moment. Why do they ask for 7 to be killed, not just 1 or 2?
It's a holy number.
It's a holy number, yes. Seven has an important number. This is a holiness, a number of completeness. Practically, why do you ask for 7? 2 children and 5 grandsons? What are you also trying to do? When you, not 2 or 3, but 7? You trying to do me?
You're trying to decimate the line.
I'm trying to take the name of Saul out. And I'm asking for the maximum I think I can get. And holy number, complete number, all that. But I'm taking 7 out. I'm taking sons and grandsons. We know Mephibosheth is still around. He's crippled in some way. It doesn't seem that he's able to have children. I'm going for the young, able-bodied ones so that Saul's name is done. Right? Killed and exposed. There's certain things in the Hebrew that are, they say nicely because they don't really want to say what that means. What does it mean if someone is killed and exposed? John?
Like Christ on the cross, you're making an example. You're not just
7 men are crucified. That's what this means. Now, Romans let you die on the cross. Israelite and other ancient Near East languages killed you first and then put you up there. They just asked for 7 men to be killed and then put on cross. So not crucified in the sense that they're dying, but 7 men to be put up on crosses after they're dead to be an example. That's a big ask. Yeah, John.
The father said.
But and that's a little bit of what we're going to get to, right? I'm going to put them up so everybody sees and so the animals come. Remember, it's been 3 years without rain. So people are hungry. Animals are hungry. You've got 5 grandsons, 2 sons up there. You can imagine the feeding frenzy for the dead bodies. Yeah, there's a practical reason to what they're doing. Gibeonites are smart. Give them credit. But it is also quite chilling to think of 7 dead Israelites on a cross for an extended period of time. Yeah?
I was trying to reconcile how they're saying that they don't have the right to ask for Israelites to be killed, but then their next breath they're asking for that. How is this?
We can't kill them. You're the king. You can kill them for us. It almost feels like the Pharisees at Jesus' time, right? Well, Pilate, we've got no rights under our law, but you could do it. So yeah, so they know as uncircumcised parts, as Gentiles really, they do not have the right to lay claim to the Mosaic law because they are not part of the priesthood. Yet you are. You can do it for us if you want. Yeah. Again, they know the law very well. And they really do rely on God's mercy and God's sense of justice. And they ask for something quite visually despicable. Put them up on the cross so everybody can see. What does this mean before the Lord? Here's something I had to think about for about a day. What is it? You know, we get the buzzards, right? We get the animals, we get this. Why do we have to exalt them before the Lord? Yeah.
So we're getting even with the Lord to a certain degree.
Yeah, right. God is angry that you have transgressed my covenant with them. So my wrath needs to be satisfied with 7 Israelite men. God's wrath is not against the lying, deceitful Gibeonites. His wrath is against the 2 and the 5, the 7 children and grandchildren of Saul. What had they done wrong? They had a doofus grandfather. What else have they done wrong? Doesn't seem to be anything. God's wrath is going to be satisfied by, might we say, innocent children because of the sins of the father. We're not trying to make too many connections between Golgotha and here, but you do see a little Old Testament, New Testament here. God's wrath is satisfied by dead people hanging on crosses. That wasn't just a Roman idea. That was a Jewish idea. Romans just, perfected it, unfortunately. And Gibeah of Saul, why do they have it there? What's Saul's hometown? What's Saul's hometown, Heather? Gibeah. Let's do it in the deceitfully smart request. And what does David say?
Okay.
I'll give it to you. You get it. Pause here. I've got a couple of questions, but I know this is a complex scenario. Pause here for thoughts and comments, Bill.
I think about God the Father allowing his son to be crucified, and how terrible that is, and how hard it must be, and so on. But here's another human being doing the same thing with his kids and grandkids. It's almost unfathomable that he could do that. And he's got to be the one that's putting out the command to kill him.
We picked on David a lot for not wanting to take ownership of his own sins. Here, in a very sad way, he has to take ownership. Now, we know how close he was to Jonathan. We know how close he was to Saul's family. One of his wives was their aunt, the aunt and great aunt of these children, maybe even grandma, I'm not quite exactly sure. He potentially is putting his own grandkids on the cross. I can't say that for certain. I don't have the lineage. But David is married into Saul's line. David has joint family together. Of all the things for David to do, now he's actually punishing some of his own blood for Saul's sin. We pick on David a lot in this class. In a way, God demands Gibeonites these thorn in the side. David doesn't. He understands God's wrath and he will not try the Lord. In a weird way, David follows the Lord's will and lets his own children do this. I have to pause on that thought. And so if there's any more questions on that, I want to hold on that. Is there something different?
A little bit different.
Yeah, okay.
Earlier, we had 30 years had gone by.
Yeah.
Might be he's finally become more of the God-centered man he needs to be.
Right.
So at that time, he could allow this to happen so he could follow what God had taught him to do.
I was reading an 18th century German commentary by a German professor at Göttingen. His name is Heinrich Ewald this week. Wonderful guy. And that was actually Professor Ewald's thought. He has this 9-volume set on Old Testament history. He preached on Old Testament in Germany for 40 years. And he said, God waits until he knows we're ready, kind of a Gideon situation. Again, whether you think that's right or not, but I thought if a man's preached for 40 years on the same things and taught at the university, I do trust his thought on that. So way to agree with 18th century German professors, John. Well done. All right, let's take a look then. Let's keep reading at what happens. Who is going to suffer here? Verse 7, the king spared Mephibosheth, son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, because of the oath before the Lord between David and Jonathan, son of Saul. But the king took Armani and Mephibosheth, the two sons of Ai daughter's Rizpah, whom she had borne to Saul, together with the 5 sons of Saul's daughter Merab, whom she had borne to Adriel, son of Barzillai, I'm kind of guessing here too, from Maholathite. He handed them over to the Gibeonites, who killed and exposed them on a hill. Crucifixions happen on hills before the Lord. All 7 of them fell together. They were put to death during the first days of the harvest, just as the barley harvest was beginning. Everybody's outdoors for the harvest time, whatever harvest you have. And now there's people on crosses. You have to see it in your hometown. For the sake of time, I have to skip those 2 questions because I want to get to the concubine's actions. I think it's awesome. Rizpah, daughter of Ai, took out sackcloth and spread it out for herself on a rock. From the beginning of the harvest till the rain poured down from the heavens on the bodies, she did not let the birds of the air touch them by day, or the wild animals by night. So picture this. 7 dead bodies crucified on display for the entire harvest season, shriveled by the Syrian sun. Underneath is the frantic movement of Grandma, beating away the birds and the wild animals who come to eat decaying human flesh. Why does God record her actions? It's a chilling picture. But it's a wonderful story in one sense. Why does God record the frantic grandma going how many days, weeks? We don't know how long barley harvest lasts. Maybe 3 weeks again is a guess. We don't know when did God bring the rain down and end the drought. We don't know. But if it's 2 weeks, why does God record the frantic picture of grandma trying to keep something off of her dead children and grandchildren's bodies? Yeah, Lorna? She loves the dead. She loves the dead more than King David does. She loves the dead to protect them. The great honor that we have for the dead, when the casket enters, we stand. We are at attention. We support that. This is great honor for the dead. Concubines are normally talked of negatively in the Old Testament, right? When's the last time you heard them spoken of positively? She submits to God's will. Her children do not deserve this, so to speak, but she allows it. She does not fight it. And even though David has to allow it, here she is, running under crosses, taking care of the dead. And we're going to see it makes a big impact on David, but before we get to his response, I hope it makes a big impact on me. Talked about God's will to allow suffering. He allows some suffering to her family for what Saul had done. Yet her love for the dead. It's quite rude. Let's keep reading then, verses 11. When David was told what Ai's daughter Rizpah, Saul's concubine, had done, he went and took down the bones of Saul and his son Jonathan from the citizens of Jabesh Gilead. They had taken them secretly from the public square of Bethshan, where the Philistines had hung them up after they had struck Saul down in Gilboa. So David brought up the bones of Saul and his son Jonathan from there, and the bones of those who had been killed and exposed were gathered up. They buried the bones of Saul and his son Jonathan in the tomb of Saul's father Kish at Zillah in Benjamin, and did everything the king commanded. Why did it take a concubine's action for David to give Saul and Jonathan's bones a fair burial? I think it's important to think that he's 60 at the end of his life. Why does it take her actions to give the one he loves so deeply, Jonathan, a fair burial? John?
He's looking for repentance for his sins.
We start to see some contrition over action, right? His own culpability. Why does he finally respect the dead? They've been strung to a wall at Jabesh Gilead. They've been this object of ridicule. This great man who goes and kills everybody who's never lost a battle. Why finally now does he think about their bones, their burial?
He's facing his own death.
David's learning too. I'm getting old too. This lifetime of sweeping things under the rug. Now that I'm getting near death, maybe it's time to start treating people with the respect I promise. It's one thing to promise that love, as he did to Jonathan. It's another thing to treat your dead with that love. And David, who, as we've seen over the last couple of weeks, David's not moved by generals. David's not moved by his own sons. David's not moved by anybody. Who is David moved by? The frantic concubine grandma. Her selfless act of love for the dead moves King David to probably a military attack. Get the bodies back, take down those from the crosses, and give everyone the proper burial. King David learns from the grandma concubine. I know, not the story you expect to learn in Sunday school. We're always learning. We're always growing. And sometimes the acts of love in unexpected sources can be springs of good deeds. Thank God for the work of Rizpah. And look at the impact it has on the land. After that, God answered prayer on behalf of the land. Why for years did God not answer prayer? His wrath was not satisfied. Not something we often talk about, God's wrath. We live under a cross where Christ was crucified for us. That's important. Do not take God's wrath lightly, nor take our oaths lightly. I wanted to get all the way through the story before I ask questions. I can see a lot of brains percolating here, a lot of eyebrows going up and down. Your thoughts, comments, questions on this surprising story. John?
Well, you find the question, why the land instead of just the nation? Well, the land includes Gentiles and the Jews, so it's everyone who's suffering.
Yeah, there's a lot of people suffering.
So he answered it to make his mercy shown to everyone.
Yeah. My mercy is on display to a lot of people today. Really?
Going back to the beginning when the Lord told them why everything was happening.
Huh?
Why did he let the Gibeonites decide what should be done? Why didn't he inquire of the Lord what should be done?
Yeah.
It seems like you got a conniving people here that already played with him once, playing with him a second time, and in the end, it takes a concubine to sit here and say, well, it really wasn't the right way to do it in the beginning.
I know. Yeah. Why does David not inquire of the Lord when he inquires of the Gibeonites? Isn't that what got Joshua in trouble the first time?
Right.
With the Gibeonites? The only thought I have is that man still has not learned its lesson. Joshua got in trouble because he didn't ask the Lord, should we do this treaty? Should we bind your name to it, right? David now asked, okay, God punished me. Let's trust these deceitful people, right? Why don't you seek the Lord, ask him for guidance, open your Bible, find his truth. Relying on deceitful people to give you guidance didn't work well for Job or David or Joshua. Maybe there's a little narrative in there as well. I don't know. That part of the Levitical law, I'm a little fuzzy on. This whole make recompense. You can kind of claim certain recompense. It doesn't seem like David did anything wrong asking them. I don't know if that's the prescribed pattern. Hey, my cow is gone, my cow hurt you, what can I do to make it right? Usually in Levitical law, there's a set standard. The only thought I have is A, he didn't learn his lesson, or B, David's hoping they won't ask for bodies. The only thought I can have is David is okay, they can take descendants now, that's Mosaic law, because we transgressed. Hopefully they'll ask for something less, and then they set it up. We can't have gold, we can't have this. No, we're going for full. Guesses, though. Now, watch out for the Gibeonites. Other thoughts, comments, questions? Next week, we have a really comforting story of David's last will and testament. We're going to see how David is both sinner and saint. His last words are often really, really good, and then often really, really bad. And that's often true about us. We are both sinner and saint. And so as we've seen David, and we've seen his growth and his care, there's a lot of comfort in seeing how David ends his life, not as this massive warrior that takes down Goliath, but as this old, shriveled man on his deathbed, kept warm by this woman. And yet his confidence ultimately is in the Lord. For all of his mistakes, all of his issues, we see how he ends in God's grace to preserve him in all of his mistakes. May God give us the same ending, the same preservation. Let's close with prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the love and the example of Rizpah, Saul's concubine. We thank you that her actions could move even David to give Saul and Jonathan treatment, and for the 7 sons and grandsons. Help us to remember just how powerful your name is, to treat it with awe and reverence, and not to misuse it. And help us also to remember the importance of the vows we make, or the promises we make, or the oaths we swear. Let us not incur your wrath, Lord. But let us, like David, seek to humble ourselves under you for blessing and for guidance. In your Son's name we pray. Thank you very much for your kind attendance. Luke, if you could turn down.